Alright, so we're back, and we're going to be working on my Gunslinger knife here. It's been probably a week and a half or so. I had to wait for the right size brass rods to come in so I can use them as pins, because I drilled the wrong size holes accidentally. So my typical 1/8 brass rod I would have, it's just too small. These holes are too big, so I had to go a little bigger. So I got I think this is a 5/32 here. So I gotta drill these out just a little bit bigger, and then I'm going to use this here as the pin. So it's just gonna be the same concept. So I didn't trace the handle out or anything like that, like I said I was going to, but we're gonna do all that today. So the goal for today is to get the handle traced, cut, shaped. We're gonna get this all hardened and tempered, and then hopefully everything will be glued up and everything done by today. My goal is to have this knife completely done today. So realistically, this is only a 2-day build, if at most, to include slotting the guard here. So like that, let's go ahead and let's get started. Okay, so I messed up on one of the scales. Surprise! Never have this problem. So this is just getting frustrating because I lined up all the holes, I drilled them through, and look what happened. It split the wood right here, and then down here. That's just frustrating. So everything in my body is telling me just call it a day today, because clearly it's not working for you. I'm stubborn. So I'm gonna see if this will work. No, it's not going to, because I can see the problem. Okay. No. Little tip, if you're gonna trace something out, it's alright if you initially do it in pencil, but boy, it makes it so much harder to see when you're cutting it. Do something nice, bold, like the black there. Alright. Alright, so this thing has fought me non-stop. I fit it, it got on. Of course, so what happens when I start putting the pins through? One of the holes doesn't line up. Magically, you can see now it's too big. It's annoying. This is why I honestly hate knives with guards, because that is one of the hardest things I have to deal with. And then plus another thing that happened was, I don't know how well you can see the gap here. You know what I mean? But it's very tight back here. That's it. I'm going to call it a day before I get too mad and start breaking things. I'll pick it up tomorrow and try again. Hey guys, so we're back working on that knife again. We're doing something just a little different with the handle. I'm going to do what I originally did on the very first knife I made and not the last 2 or 3 I did. So we're kind of changing it up a little bit, just because this one's fighting me, and I found the issue is actually the guard. That was the problem. So Now, first thing is I did make a mistake, and I already blackened this, and I wanted to show you guys how we did it, and I didn't record it, I'm sorry. But the process is going to be exactly the same as I'm going to be doing with the knife right now, which is actually the forge heating up. Alright, so the guard itself is not nice and flat, and I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time trying to flatten it and all that fun stuff, because I had to remember, this is not meant to be a perfect knife. It's not meant to be in any shape or form. It's supposed to be a used looking knife that is somewhat historically accurate to the mid to late 1800s. All right, so that's why it's like that. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to get the blade hardened and tempered, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to epoxy this guard in place where it's nice and level, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the scales on, mark everything that way so I know it will fit the way it's supposed to with this guard. So that's what I'm doing right now. So right now I got it's hard to see, I'm sorry, with the light. I'm going to definitely move the camera for you guys. I got the knife in the forge heating up, and how to get this black, and it's simple. Now with the guards, you don't need to get red hot, just need to get hot. I just put a little hook, like a hanger on there, and I stuck it in pre-warmed oil to about 110, 120 degrees, and I leave it there until it fully cools, and it's got this nice dark coating on there now. That way it's actually food safe, so if you don't need to use bluing. Now we're probably going to have to use gun bluing for the handle portion on the spine, but that'll be alright. But the blade in this will definitely be food safe. Blade warped. So after getting it just past automatic, I stuck it in the oil, which I couldn't show you guys, but there's a warp in the blade, so I quickly went over to the vise and clamped it, hoping I could remove that warp. If it's not removed, what I'm going to have to do is anneal it and then try to straighten it back out. Or during the tempering process, which you stick in the oven, I clamp it to another piece of metal, and that will help remove the warp as well. That's the only problem with this metal being this thin, is it likes to warp pretty easily. I lied, it's an optical illusion. I put it on a flat object and it's fine, so. Alright, now to temper. Alright, so the tempering process. I talked about it a second ago and totally forgot what I'm doing. So I said I'm heating it to about 400 degrees. I'm going to do 2 cycles of 2 1-hour cycles. So I'll put the knife in the oven here, get it to about 400 degrees for about an hour, take it out, let it get to room temperature, put it back in the oven for another hour, and once it's done, take it out, let it get down to room temperature, and then the tempering process is done. Now, I don't have a proper heat treat oven and all that fun stuff, which would make this so much easier, whatever. I'm doing it with a typical hobbyist would do it, so, but that's what with that. Next step is to, I've got it on backwards. Next step is going to be getting this tempered, and once it's tempered, I'm going to epoxy this on in place, the guard, and I use a JV Weld epoxy, metal epoxy. It turns almost like a black, so it really hides, fills in this gaps. So it's really nice. And then we'll go ahead and fit the scales on there. So the knife has been blackened. So this video is just fraught with errors. All right, so I totally forgot, and I didn't realize it until after I threw the knife in the oven and stuff, to show you guys the process of me testing if the knife has been hardened. So after I got done with putting it in the vise to remove the warp and stuff like that, and then in between waiting for the oven to heat up, I take a file, okay? All right, a fairly sharp file, and I just run it along the edge of the blade. So let's take this rusted knife that I actually do use, and it's still fairly sharp. I would just take it and I would run across. If it sounds and feels like kind of like it's going across glass and it skates across, actually it's skating across this really well too. and it doesn't catch and dig in, like if I were on this side here, like it will catch. Then if it catches like it is on the side here, then it's still soft. But if it slides off like that, then it's hard. Okay, so the blade has been hardened and tempered. And I know I said, because like I said, this video has been fraught with errors and stuff like that. We were going to glue on the, or not glue on, but epoxy on the crossguard. Well, I like to get the edge and stuff put on there first before I do all that, or at least get it close to sharp. Bless you, my cat's sneezing. So that's what I'm going to do next. So right now I'm going to go ahead and put the bevels on right now. So I'm going to be putting obviously a bevel on this side and then just a small one on the clip point side. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to start probably with a 80 grit belt. Kind of takes them off. I don't want to use a 36. That's going to take too much off. And then I'll progressively get a little bit more finer grit as we go along. I hit right there. You can hear that? Oh well. So I snagged the belt accidentally and it caused the jump, and then I hit right there. Now, luckily, I can touch that up with some gun bluing. I normally wouldn't recommend doing that, but that's not a big deal. A little gun bluing, it'll hide that up pretty well. Like I said, think cosplay, not, you know, normal. So I'm still getting used to this grinder, so I'm not the greatest at grinding on this yet. So my grind lines are not exactly perfect on this thing here. They're pretty good. They're not bad, but you know, a little mistake here, and you'll see here I'm getting a little bit of a wiggle right there. But overall, not terrible. But right now, it's pretty sharp. It's only up to 320 grits. There we go. So you can see it's cutting that. So pretty darn sharp right now. So I'm going to call that good for sharpness for now. Now I can go ahead and epoxy that guard on, which I may just do tomorrow. It's getting late out here, and the mosquitoes are getting pretty bad. Actually, I might epoxy it tonight, let it set, and then we'll call it good. Let's do that. Alright, so what I'm using is a 2-part epoxy. It's the steel one because it's going to come out gray. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to obviously mix it, and then I'm going to compact it inside the little hole here, all the way around the edges, and just kind of fill in the gaps as much as possible and press it in. And then I'm trying to scrape whatever I can off, and then I'm just going to let it dry overnight. Then I should be able to actually do the handle. Okay, so now that I made a complete mess, I'm going to try to scrape some of that off before it dries. Now luckily the JB wood actually does come off pretty easily, and unfortunately if you got to scrape it off, you take a lot of the black coating off. But because most of this is covered by the handle, that's usually not too big of a deal. Alright, that's it for today, guys. So hopefully this was somewhat entertaining and fun for you guys to see my blunders, even though I have made several of these knives doing this exact method. But the biggest issue was those guards were flat, this one wasn't. That's why it was throwing me off. But with that, guys, hopefully you found this video helpful and entertaining. If you have, go ahead, hit that like button. Also, got any comments or suggestions, link down below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. With that, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.